Okay, I have the cluster out. I'm going to remove the lens and the escutcheon from the housing. This is a two-part. The lens is separate from the escutcheon. I like to remove my lens separately from the escutcheon that attaches to the housing. These are just plastic retainers. They do not come off. They're just a clip. You can use a screwdriver, you can even use your finger. You can hear them when they pop. When the top goes loose, you can use your thumb, push forward. You get those loose, and then there's one on each side. Pop those loose, and the lens comes right off. You don't want to scratch this. When you take this cluster out, you have to turn the cluster on its back and slide it out and then stand it up to remove the plugs and the retainer for the wire harness. So be careful, don't scratch your lens or you'll be mad. Okay, so we have the lens off. Now I'm going to pull the escutcheon or bezel, whichever you prefer to use, whatever term. Parts book says one thing, service manual calls it another. We'll just call it a bezel for sake of argument. Lift those retainers up. They're not difficult. These are the same as on the cluster lens. They're actually push. You gotta push them down there. You gotta watch so you're not pressing here, holding it down. You gotta hold it from behind, push those to get them to snap. You just work with them a little bit. There's no big deal. They'll work themselves off. I had these clipped back on. Maybe it's best to work from the bottom and then do the top. Once those are all released, the bezel comes off and we have our panel lens. And this thing is a little snap fit as well. You just get something to pop that off. You don't want to break that, otherwise you're going back to Toyota, and I doubt if this is serviced separately. You can see inside of this cluster, these lights are all LED. There is no bulb, so you can't just pull the bulb and put it back together. Unfortunately, you're going to be stuck using tape. So I took a piece of Gorilla tape that I have. It's some really nice duct tape, not that typical crappy stuff. And I cut a single piece and I blocked out the two offending lights. And then we can do a leak test on this to make sure that we have them blocked off. You can see where the light doesn't go through. Nice little block off. No big deal. So we get the lens, pop it back on. We install our bezel, same way. Everything's snap fit. Give it a push, it'll all clip into place. Double check, make sure all your clips are in. There's one that's not. If it doesn't, and it won't go by pushing, just give it a push down with your finger. And that'll get it back down on there. Then we do the same thing with the lens. Be careful with the lens. Make sure it's all lined up before you start pushing. You don't want to crack it. It's not too fragile, but you don't want to manhandle it too much. Push those in. You can hear them all snap into place. And that's all there is to it. You might want to wipe this off before you put it back in the car so there's no fingerprints where you can't get to them. Just get some window cleaner or something, wipe it down, put it back in.